The observation screen displayed thermal outlines against the frozen moon. 50 of our elite shadow shock operatives lay in various stages of destabilization, cooling into the ice, and the solitary human was standing up again. My atmospheric aura dropped by 3 degrees. I want to be clear that military doctrine dictates a single organic cannot survive localized plasma saturation. I had the manuals memorized before I was drafted into this command chair. The human wiped frozen red from his shattered visor. He was looking up. His skin prickled, not from the ambient cold. I felt his attention reaching through the void. The fine hairs on his arms rose one by one, each pointing directly toward the hidden orbital sensor lens. Toward me. I strongly advise against listening to the rest of this official record. What happened next on that moon will permanently alter your understanding of biological limits. 3 orbital rotations ago, the hardest operational decision I faced was organizing the requisition forms for thermal paste. I am a civilian archivist. I should state that for the record. The Admiralty gave me this temporary field promotion because actual officers keep dying in this sector. I have 3 offspring waiting for me in the core worlds. I do not want to study humans. We parked our observation vessel directly behind the system's gas giant. It is a fundamental principle of astrophysical stealth. The immense gravity of the giant bends light around its mass. It creates a massive one-way mirror that allows us to see the frozen moon while remaining completely invisible to anyone on the surface. Gravitational lensing, a perfect, textbook hiding spot. Down on the surface, the human outpost was already a shattered ruin. The planetary defense grid was completely offline. We initiated the surface purge at 0400. The strategy was mathematical and verified by 3 separate tactical algorithms. I authorized the deployment of 50 shadow form operatives to secure the ruins. Inside the shattered human command bunker, a single analog weapons targeting display remained active. I watched it cycle through its green phosphor sweeps. It was locked onto a target coordinate that had been destroyed decades ago. It just kept tracking empty space. Blind, relentless, pointless. The human Sergeant Miller did not have a functioning defense grid. He had a kinetic projectile rifle, a primitive slug thrower. The initial engagement parameters, which were verified by 3 separate tactical algorithms and double-checked by the automated strategic forecasting system, indicated a total pacification time of precisely 4 minutes for the entire outpost, a fact I dutifully logged in the official record. They were completely. I need to start that sentence over. The maintenance light on my primary console is still flashing yellow. I submitted a ticket for it yesterday. I focused on that blinking light while Miller fought manually. He did not rely on the broken sensors. He calculated shadow displacements in the snow. I watched a shadow operative flank him. The operative fired a concentrated plasma round directly into Miller's left side. The thermal bloom registered at 4,000 degrees. Organic tissue vaporizes at that temperature. It ceases to exist, which meant the training manuals were entirely fabricated. I observed the human stumble. I was about to recommend standard quarantine procedures for his remains. The font on the messaging interface always looked slightly crooked to me. Then the human scooped up a handful of freezing mud. He shoved the frozen soil directly into his cauterized side. He did not die. My shadow form destabilized. The edges of my hands flickered completely out of the visible spectrum. The remaining 49 shadow operatives converged on his position. Standard procedure states that overwhelming numerical superiority guarantees pacification within acceptable margins of error, which I documented thoroughly in my preliminary notes, because I wanted to ensure my personal liability was minimized when the Admiralty inevitably reviewed this disastrous operation. The human was failing. He dropped his kinetic rifle twice. His physical movements were agonizingly uncoordinated, dragging his cauterized side across the frozen durasteel plating of the ruined outpost. I watched him trip over a severed conduit. He failed to dodge a secondary plasma burst that scorched the outer layer of his heavy infantry armor. He should have stayed down. He was dying, mathematically speaking. Our comms officer intercepted an open-frequency broadcast originating from his helmet. I expected a final plea. perhaps a transmission of biological data for his offspring, which I would have filed respectfully. Instead, he spoke to the shadow operatives. "Your sniper missed my vitals." His voice was grating, punctuated by wet coughs. "Tell him to aim lower next time. My armor is heavy." I re-verified the translation matrix 3 times. I did this because that statement contradicted every known psychological response to imminent termination. My shadow form rippled with harmonic distress. I remember noting that the stylus I was holding had snapped in half, which was a clear violation of station inventory protocols. And then he was standing again, looking directly at the orbital sensor lens. The human wiped the frozen red from his shattered visor. Finally, the single word transmitted through the open channel, raspy and completely devoid of panic. He did not aim his primitive kinetic slug thrower at the 49 shadow operatives surrounding him on the ice. He aimed it up. Well, he aimed it at the precise coordinates where our observation vessel was hidden behind the massive gravitational pull of the gas giant. I want to be extremely clear that this was mathematically impossible. Our stealth technology bends light perfectly. We were invisible, but the human was not using light. He was using basic kinetic physics to bypass our advanced shadow tech. He understood that the massive planetary body bending our visual signature would also exert a predictable gravitational drag on a physical solid mass projectile, meaning he was essentially doing advanced orbital mechanics in his head while actively bleeding out into the frozen mud of a dead moon. I gripped the edges of my console. He pulled the trigger. The kinetic slug left his weapon. It did not travel in a straight line. It caught the gravitational pull of the gas giant, arced perfectly around the curvature of the massive planet, bypassed our optical camouflage entirely, and struck the observation vessel's primary shield generator with catastrophic force. I was about to officially declare the target pacified when the impact alarm deafened me. The entire bridge plunged into emergency red lighting. My command console shattered into a dozen burning pieces. I was terrified, and for some inexplicable reason I was also deeply irritated that I would have to fill out the requisition forms for the damaged equipment. My aura dropped so fast the ambient moisture in the room crystallized into falling snow. I submitted the official threat reclassification form to the Admiralty with hands that were completely destabilized, flickering between physical and intangible states. Down on the surface, the ruined bunker's analog targeting display continued its green phosphor sweeps. It was locked onto empty space, tracking a target it couldn't see, just like the human. I finalized the report.